are. You presented 3 times to the Joint House of the Yorks. You know what this world entails. So was it at all a kind of a worry about, do I really want to step into that arena? Because it can be tough.
Oh, a number of years ago, I was asked would I consider politics, and it's not what I do. I'm in business in Naas, and I've seen addiction in my own family, and I thought, oh, the reason I set up Tiglin was to see could we make a difference in the area. And I'm more surprised than anybody that Tiglin actually filled a gap for people that were in addiction, families that needed family support, people that needed housing coming from an addiction background. And really, the success of Tiglin has surprised me more than anybody. But what I found was a number of people asked me when Ivana Bacik, when she was elected to the Dáil, they asked me, would you consider the Seanad seat? And it came from such a variety of people, both from left to right and back again. I thought, oh, is there something in here? Could I make a difference? And everything I do, even in business, I try to fix. I try to see if I can add value. And I believe that's what Tiglin does. And if you could use a platform such as the Senate to do that, I think you could make a difference. And people said, oh, you're brilliant, Aubrey. But actually, what I find is when there's nobody shouting, even a whisper makes all the difference. And there's nobody shouting. So I'm whispering about Tiglin, but it's making a difference. It's impacting on people's lives.
Now that idea that when you started Tiglin, I'm sure to a degree it was a sort of an unknown, that you didn't know if you're going to be able to get this thing to work, and then the fact that it has been such a huge success, that would suggest that you're sort of geared for that sort of leap. You know that these things are possible, these things can be done.
Well, I remember in 2008, Tiglin Adventure Centre came up for sale. And I got a phone call about it to see would I be interested. And because I wanted to set up a rehab centre. I went to the AIB. Do you remember those mad times in 2008? I got a 110% mortgage.
Nice.
Crazy. So I was able to buy the place and do it up, buy the beds and all the rest. And from there, I went to the HSE. They said, no, this is not a goer, don't do it. But over time, they saw what we did work and they got involved as well. So sometimes you just have to have a bit of foresight and you say, okay, can this work? Well, I'm a visionary in that I see something, I see the bigger picture, I don't do detail too well, but I saw this could work.
And now you went from AMC removals and you'd work with, with people who would then Intercontinental Hotel and people like that who would actually help you when you set up Tiglin. I'm just guessing that I don't know whether from a very early age you had that kind of drive that you knew I can make things happen.
I remember when I was 12, there was a guy in Naas setting up a supermarket. And I remember we lived on a farm and there was a river running through the farm and there was watercress. So I remember hearing that watercress is worth money. I started to collect the watercress and I started to bag the watercress. I went into this man in Naas who was setting up a supermarket and I asked him for a meeting and he agreed to buy the watercress off me. His name was Fergal Quinn and it was super.
Wow.
So even from that age I used to always see, okay, hunger is a great sauce. So when you don't have it, you go out and you try to earn it. And I think that's sort of instinctive in you.
I saw you picking up empty bottles. They don't give you refunds on empty bottles anymore. I see your bag is...
My bag is full. No, but I'm always looking at different ways. But also, what I've learned, even with the guys, the homeless guys, social enterprise is huge. I remember in Dublin a number of years back when Airbnb was huge. A number of the homeless guys, there was 2 guys living in Stephen's Green, and they were great guys. And I said, okay, could we get them an apartment and maybe let them rent out a room? Okay, so they started to rent out a room, and they were doing well. Then they started to put themselves through college and stuff like that. And I asked different friends, would you have an apartment and let these guys run it? And they set up a mini enterprise. They had 5 homeless people cleaning, doing their catering or whatever, and they set up a social enterprise out of nothing. So even the cafe you're in now, this is a social enterprise called The Rise in Greystone. Yeah. And what this does, it allows lads coming from the centre into housing and then into employment and then being poached by other coffee shops because they're fantastic baristas. So it's solved the problem that we didn't know was there.
Now I know it's from personal experience that Tiglin came into existence. Again, would there have been any kind of, fear in you that this is something I don't know anything about, or are you like that big picture thing just kicks in and you just assume everything will fall into place if I just...
I remember I approached a guy called Dr. John Latham. He'd written in the Irish Times an opinion piece about how the system is failing people in addiction. I connected with John. He was on the board then, and he was a visionary, so the expertise was there. So I'm always of the opinion, even though people are well-meaning, if you get on a plane and you're flying to Brussels and the pilot is well-meaning, you don't really care. You want to make sure he's qualified to fly the blooming thing. Yeah. So everybody that's involved in Tiglin, they're qualified. They know what they're doing. I might be the talker and I might be able to sell you the story. These guys are qualified to make a difference in the people's lives. So at the moment now, we do family support, we do play therapy, we do group therapy, we do CRA, we're doing a new research into rapid eye movement therapy.
All right.
So we look at everything that makes a difference.
So you're the bono of the operation, the others are the musicians, but you're the front man who knows how to deliver.
I'm the guy who actually joins the dots.
There you go.
So that's what I do. Interesting, I was doing a big building transporting the contents to 75 Stephen's Green in Dublin. It's a huge building, and when I was there, I'd be asking the person who managed the building, oh, what are you doing with that desk? What are you doing with that filing cabinet? And they said, okay, what do you want? I said, well, I'm involved in a charity, could we have it? So they would give me the things, and then they thought, this is a Del Boy, this fella's flogging the stuff. So what they did was they asked if they could see the place that I'm putting it.
Right.
Okay? I took out the windows and I put them up in Tiglin. So the owner of the company, Paul McKenna, whom I never met before, he arrived up, very flashy car, and he arrived up at Tiglin. It was lashing rain the day he arrived up, and when he arrived up there was water coming through the roof. And he said, oh my goodness, what are you doing with all the stuff? I said, I can see, these are the windows from Bagot Street, these are the filing cabinets from News Talk or whatever. And he was amazed. He gave me 100,000 to put a new roof in Tiglin. I'd never met the man before.
Wow. So
this, when people see what you do and it's authentic and they meet the guys, I think that's what makes the difference.
Now, I know that one of the key kind of belief for your running for the seat is that education is key. That whether it's education in a traditional sense of just knowing, how to do a job like this, as you say, you educate people, they can make a living, they can go on. But then educate when it comes to violence against women, so many different things that it is really about knowing what the world is really like and what you should.
I was on the way into Dublin last Friday at an appointment, and I was listening to RTE Morning Ireland. And there was a guy talking on it, and he was talking about education, etc. That's a guy I met. He was living in Phoenix Park. He was homeless. He's done his masters now. He's back in action. I just go, education can be liberating. Right. And what I find is if you can give a guy an opportunity and do it like the Oncason or IT Callaway, where they do a module, level 4 FETAC, level 5 FETAC, level 6, they've done the leaving cert before they know it. Right. So everybody that comes into Tiglin now, they go on a FETAC level, no matter what it is. So then when they leave Tiglin, they have education, they have literacy, and also they have a CV, and the CV shows that they have been somewhere for the last 10 months, and that's big study.
Right. So when it comes to the vote itself, I don't know whether this is down to other politics. I should have looked into this.
The way this works, it's an unusual one. It's called the Trinity seat in the Senate.
Okay.
So it's only the Trinity electorate. Trinity graduates can vote here. The difficulty here is they must be registered to vote.
Right.
But for example, in Wicklow there's 3,000 Trinity voters. In Dublin there's 34,000.
Okay.
And they have an opportunity to vote. There's 17 candidates running. It's like the Grand National.
Wow.
And so what you have is, I'm one of those 17. And I just put forward what I do and what I intend to do. So one politician rang me and he said, the difference, Aubrey, with you and a lot of the other candidates is you're already doing what you're saying you're going to do.
Right.
So that's what makes the difference.
And would you have a feeling that now that you've sort of stepped into this arena, that whatever happens in regard to this vote, that this is something that you'll pursue? Because it just seems like you're sort of, ready-made for this kind of work.
I don't think I'd go for the Dáil. I think that Seanad was set up for independent voices, like Sir John Crown. the cancer oncologists. Like Fergal Quinn, whom I mentioned earlier, like David Norris, people who don't fit into a party political situation, but yet can make a difference and can make noise and can push policies through. So I think that's where I could be best used.
I suppose finally, if you get a seat, would there be something that you have first on your list that this is what I want to start with? I don't know whether there's just a broad kind of selection of things that you'd like
I think
to...
housing is huge at the moment. I mean, the homeless situation is awful. What we've done in Wicklow, and it's trying to make a difference. We've literally applied for planning permission for a new woodland in Wicklow near British Bay to commemorate those who are homeless. So I have 10,000 trees going.
Wow, lovely.
But I think the housing could be solved with a bit of ingenuity and a bit of joining the dots around the table. So what I've done is I've asked the Minister to let the housing allowance follow the individual rather than follow the property. Okay. And I've also put forward 2 planning applications for mixed housing developments. You're sitting in Greystones here. There's a mixed housing development going through here. We're going to have 15 units of elderly housing. But in Naas, we're proposed the same with a livable community. So the housing, with a bit of ingenuity, a bit of thinking, I think we could make inroads there.
Nice. Now you'll be able to help me with my planning permission, won't you?
Not a problem.
Lovely job.